Hi, my name is Michael Moyer, Director of Technical Sales here at Riley's Outdoor Decor. Today we're going to show you how to put up a 14-foot panel tree and the proper safety measures that are involved. So with this tree, there are 8 steps in order to complete it properly. Step 1 is make sure you have the components. Step 2, getting the first tier of framework lined up and bolted. Step 3 would be adding on the second tier on top of the first tier. Step 4 will be adding the first cone piece on top of the tree. Step 5 will be installing the treetop star. Step 6 will be adding the second section of cone piece to complete the top portion of the tree. Step 7, you'll be adding the panels from top to the bottom of the panel tree. Step 8 will be adding the weight to keep the tree weighted down for securement. First of all, you want to make sure you have a nice level spot. And in our warehouse, it's nice and level, so we don't need to worry about adding shims to it to keep it level. But if you're in a grass or gravel area, you want to make sure you put some shims on it to level it off. So the next thing we would need is the proper components to build this tree. We would need wiring harnesses, U-bolts, framework, handles, and of course the treetop star to complete this 14-foot panel tree. So to begin building this tree, we want to start out with the higher number of the framework. In this particular tree, we have 2 sections of the framework. So number 2 will be where we begin. So it'll be 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4 to complete the bottom ring. So the section of the framework, you'll see a dog tag on the D ring. And on the bottom of the dog tag, you'll see 2 numbers. The first one corresponds with the level of the panel tree. So this one here is level 2, which will be on the bottom. The higher number is always on the bottom, the lower numbers towards the top. The dash, that means the section of how the framework gets laid out. In this particular section, there's only 4 frames that we laid out. This is number 3. So this would be level 2-3. And how you know it's together properly, you have 2 slots for the panels on each framework. Now 1 and 4 at the very end only have 1 slot, and by putting them together with 1 and 4, you have the 2 here, like the other framework, so you know things are going to sit right with the panels of the tree. Once you have your framework in order clockwise, 1 all the way to 4, and then 1 and 4 line up correctly, you want to start bolting it together and keep the top flush for the next section. So when you begin the second tier, you want to make sure that the ladder lines up with the bottom section of the ladder. It's important when you bolt down the second tier onto the first tier that you don't bolt over the tabs. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble putting the panels into these slots. Once the framework is completed, the next step would be adding the cone pieces to the top of the frame. There are 2 sections of cone pieces. The first one you want to put on is the one with the solid bar across with the tab for the treetop star. And you want to make sure that you have this particular cone piece in the back so you can climb up the ladder on top of the frame and securely place the treetop star. Make sure you bolt it onto the frame that you actually just put up for good securement. Also drop the cable lines down in the middle to secure onto concrete blocks. And also don't pinch the electrical wires underneath the framework, otherwise it will not work properly. So the next section you want to do here is putting the treetop star into the pole and securing the plate. Once you get the star into the pole, you want to make sure you lock down the bolts and secure the plate so the star is properly secured. Once you have the star properly in place and totally secured, take the cord, drop it down the middle. Adding on the second cone piece, the same rules apply. Make sure you bolt it down properly and also get the cables and the electrical cord on the inside and not caught underneath the framework. Once the top section is completed and the second cone piece is in place, the guys right now are filling any gaps with the garland, twisting it in place. Now we're going to start placing the panels on each ring. Now this tier is number 1, so we want to make sure we have row 1 and proceed from there. And while you're putting up the panels, you want to make sure you start to the right of the ladder. You always want to do the ladder section last to proceed on to the next tier. When you're putting the panels on the panel tree, you want to make sure you have the top tab of the panels going into the proper slots that are on the frame. So this particular one, I want to go into this one so I can go this way with the panel. So before completing the bottom panels, you want to make sure that you take the aircraft cables that are hanging down and properly secure them to the concrete buckets. There you have it. We have a completed 14-foot panel tree with steps 1 through 8. Each year, you can add additional tiers with 4-foot sections to grow your panel tree for your holiday celebrations. Now, once the holiday season is over, just follow steps 1 through 8, but in reverse.